everybody. My apologies for hogging amazing, brilliant, fabulous Kimberly. For those of you who are just popping in for the first time, welcome to Impossible Live. For those of you who are popping back in, you are in for another spectacular treat. The only way to properly introduce you to this amazing, brilliant woman is to just really say to her, thank you for being an angel on earth and a gift from our universe. And thank you for gracing us and returning to Impossible Live. And for those of you who haven't had a chance to see our Pockets of Peace series, which started this spring. Hey, Leslie, how are you? Welcome. Thank you so much for popping in. And for those of you who haven't had a chance, Leslie Flowers called us the busy girls today. And I need you to know, she called us the busy girls as I'm RSVPing for 3 upcoming events that Leslie's having this week, including one with Kimberly. And I'm laughing because she's calling us busy ladies as she's got her carousels of live events and she's shouting the world out. So thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Meryl. Thank you for the beautiful hearts of support. We appreciate you and we really, really appreciate your amazing energy. Hey, Leanna, welcome back. The only way to properly, hey, Sharon, how are you? Thank you for all the great vibrant energies and for the warm welcome on a rainy day wherever you are, whatever time zone, whether you're catching us live or you're catching us on replay. I hope you'll create a space today for a pocket of peace for yourself. Meeting Kimberly in Elephant Strategy Club. There are no accidents. Thank you again, Lachelle Atkins, for another beautiful, amazing human in my universe. But in their Power of the Moment community, which, if you haven't had a chance, look at Kimberly's posts, look at her shares, and you're doing, I think, Power of the Moment multiple times during the week now. But this brilliant woman helps me learn the first time we went live to put down my pen. And teacher's kid, daughter of the scholar, it's the hardest thing because your brain is active a lot of times and we're active learners. But this brilliant woman, lean in, listen when you can, follow her when you can, pop into her clubhouse rooms when you can, into her Zooms, into her book clubs. Pop in and support her in whatever way you can possible. Your spirit and your heart will benefit. And without further ado, beautiful Kimberly, let you have an opportunity to introduce our wonderful Impossible Live guests and universe to wonderful Kimberly.
Wow. If that wasn't an introduction, I don't know what what a wonderful introduction would be. But again, Melanie, I am so grateful for our connection because I believe that everything is divine. We meet the people along our journey that we are meant to meet. Um, and it's either for a blessing or a lesson. And I take it all, and I am so grateful. And you, my dear, are a blessing. So I'm so grateful to be here with you and have this conversation um, today about one of my very favorite topics, and that is gratitude. Um, I am not just writing it down in the mornings, which I do have a practice. It's the bookends for my day. I start it that way, I end it that way, and it sandwiches everything that I experience in my life in between. I'm grateful for it all. I'm grateful for every single bit. And as you said, my name, I'm Kimberly. Um, And I am actually a relationship coach. I support, I guide ambitious professional women in midlife to rediscover their self worth so they can have the fulfilling relationships and experience and build that transformation that they desire to have in their lives. It is about the becoming of who we are, right? That's what matters. We don't get our self-worth from anywhere. We are worthy. We are worthy. So I hope you will be saying that to yourself today. I am worthy. I am worthy. And what wants me, what I want wants me. Absolutely. So thanks so much for that, Melanie.
Truly my pleasure. And you'll laugh because what I love about this amazing woman is she has to be one of the most humble people that I've ever met on the planet. She has no idea of her beautiful light. And Sharon is saying, and hey, Lisa, how are you? Welcome. But Sharon is saying she doesn't see her posts anymore. So we got to fix that. So, Sharon, on LinkedIn, the way to fix not seeing Kimberly's posts are to pop into one of Kimberly's posts and leave a comment, not just a reaction. Leave a comment. It'll help her posts show up a little bit more. And another thing is when you get bored, bookmark Kimberly. Set a calendar alarm. And I appreciate Leslie Flowers for reminding me today to set a calendar alarm for naps this week. So the things that really nourish us from a spiritual perspective and a grounding perspective, we need to kind of reach out to people who are helping us amplify our light. And I appreciate it because Meryl and Leslie always tease me about. I prefer longer deep dives with fantastic guests, and it really helps me as an introvert kind of keep the wellspring full. So you're able to show up full out. And that's one of the beautiful things that I smile as someone sending fun, smiling faces. But the the hard part is we sometimes don't see the things that lift us up. And Kimberly and I've been really talking about that from the perspective of gratitude, whether it's, and I love that she's got a deliberate practice because Impossible Live is here because Impossible Live was part of an Impossible Live love and gratitude journal.
Mm,
And it finally became, it started during the pandemic. Impossible was a magnet on the fridge, and I'm really grateful of a couple of years ago, 3.5 years ago, of finally hitting the button to go live. Hey Tracy, thanks so much for popping in. Hey Tracy, yep, calendar alarm for naps. Leslie's the one who suggested scheduling them, and I follow the nap ministry thanks
I
to
love it.
another amazing guest, Lori Ostrovsky. So I follow the nap ministry, and I'm from one of those families. Without the naps, this hard drive, and I'll admit it, the hard drive, the brain cells, the heavy lifting, the attempts to support others, and Kimberly and my in our conversation, I had to be reminded hard way this summer and fall. I wasn't putting on my oxygen mask first.
Mm,
And that part under our discussions about peace, what brings you peace, what lifts you up. And I appreciate it because Kimberly and I laugh. This idea for pockets of peace came up in one of her amazing Power of the Moment rooms during a rich dialogue with Pam Ray. I'm glad Pam Ray was there. And I reached out to Pam later that week to help me digest a little bit. And I was like, Kimberly, we got to do something on pockets of peace. And Kimberly's the one who suggested it. So thank you for your brilliance there. If we separate, and we started with reflections, pockets of
mhm.
peace. We went to celebrations, pockets of peace. We did trust, pockets of peace. We did gratitude. If this is a theme that's hitting you, calling you, please don't hesitate to reach out because we have amazing links. So you can really digest some of the Kimberly gems. And I was talking about them from a peace perspective and really grateful for Carla Sellers of the Virtual Link Suite for being an amazing team member. Kimberly's gems, Carla is now putting them on YouTube with Kimberly's pro tip with a light bulb. I love it. She's picking out one Kimberly nugget, one like call to action, one call, I think, called the self care, a Kimberly awareness call. And I have to really thank Kimberly for that. Kimberly really helped me sharpen my faith walk lens, which is another reason why we were a few minutes late starting today. We have it internally. Some people are spiritual, some people are religious, some people always know the right quote, the right saying, the right words. And the rest of the time, we have to be reminded to take naps and take really good care and to be careful as deep listeners with discernment. But I really just want to thank Kimberly for reminding us, as she did during Celebration Pockets of Peace, creating pockets of peace. And this is a Kimberly quote, and I will type it out. Creating pockets of peace is a sacred invitation to reconnect with your true essence. Lean in, listen, and let your soul speak. It is a Kimberly mic drop amongst all of them, and I'm collecting them. So you'll laugh because I told Kimberly, I said, "Whoa, I've been hanging out with your amazing recordings. Thanks, Carla, for all the transcripts for hooking us up. So it's all on YouTube. But man, such a reminder of this amazing woman's wisdom. And now I'm gonna just shush, and we're gonna just listen to Kimberly for about a half hour because I'm we are here for your next pro tip of the day.
Well, we're talking about gratitude, and first and foremost, in terms of leaning in and embracing your soul's essence, you took me back to an uh, earlier experiences that I had where I would sit in my room, and I'm talking when I say early, I mean early. I would sit in my room as a young girl and I would dance. So I would dance all over the place. Like I wanted to be a dancer and I would dance. And so it wasn't I want to be a dancer, I am a dancer and I am dancing. But one thing that I really learned about myself was that through my dance, I was actually emitting a frequency and vibration, that it was not just how I moved my body, because how I move my body, on the physical earth can attract things that are not necessarily favorable, right? But how I'm doing is more like a spiritual dance. So thanks for that, Melanie, reminding me of that, because we can do that in many different ways to connect to our soul's essence, right? Our infinite intelligence. This is so very important for us to do because we are here for more than just a conversation. We're here for more than just waking up in the morning and going through the motions. We're here for a reason, a purpose. We were created, right? We were created for so much more. There's always more and more and more and more and more, so thank you so much for that. But we're here to talk about gratitude today. And Melanie and I were just talking a few minutes ago about it. Like I have that practice, that morning and that evening practice, and everything in the middle is like sandwiched in between. But I will tell you, there was a time where I couldn't come up with one thing I was grateful for because I couldn't sit still with myself. But I will tell you that I love stillness. I love silence. I love it because I'm connecting with that infinite intelligence. on a daily basis. For me, it's God, and he reveals things to me on a daily basis that are so incredibly powerful. And whatever your spiritual rooting is, it's for you too. It's for you too. Because again, we're here for a greater reason. We're not just here to talk about gratitude in terms of being thankful for Thanksgiving, right? And telling people, because it's a day, right? We have a lot of those days, a lot of those national days, and they're lots of fun. They're lots of fun. It can be National Pie Day. I was talking about earlier, it could be Pie Day. It could be Donut Day. It could be Dog Day. It could be any kind of day, Peace Day, International Peace, International Coffee Day. There's just so many days. And there is a space for gratitude in there. But one thing I'd love to invite you to do is to lean into this idea that you can create a practice around gratitude, a practice that allows you to connect to your infinite intelligence, to the infinite intelligence, to your spiritual power. And I'm telling you, it's been absolutely life changing, life changing. I am revealed every day something that I just find incredible. And I don't know, Melanie, if I can share something a little bit personal. So, I have a family member right now that is not well. And I was just talking to a family member about this. I don't know why I'm chosen to guide people through the process of afterlife, but I am, and I accept it. I did that for the first time with my grandfather. In 1 minute, I was welcomed into his room, which happened to have been a room that was a hospice facility. And he greeted me just like he had always done. I was his granddaughter. But soon after that happened, I became someone else. I was a nurse. And then I transformed from a nurse to someone that was in the war. Then I became a random person. It was an experience like I never, ever could imagine. But in this present moment, I am welcomed again to help someone transition, right? Don't know if it's going to happen in this moment, but I know that I've been called to do that because God continues to reveal to me things about this person that I would have never considered. Never. Because my experience on in the physical world was so different. So I don't want to get too deep in the woods. I don't want to get too deep in the woods because this can be really intense. I will tell you that it's intense for me. I don't know if you've seen The Green Mile, but that's my experience. It gets heavy sometimes. But I understand why I'm here. I'm here to bring light. I'm here to show you all of the beautiful things that I see inside of you. You are beautiful. You are here for great things. And we need one another.
Mm,
We need one another. And
mm.
that is a deep conversation, Melanie. Gratitude as I laugh. And yeah, cheers.
And a warm welcome, Lowe's, as you're popping in to join us today. Welcome, welcome to Impossible Live. What I love about what you said is, and this is one of the fun things about my conversations with Kimberly. I never know what we'll talk about next. But I'm really grateful because 9.5 times out of 10, Kimberly's bringing up something that either I need to pay more attention to, I need to pay more awareness to, or the reminder to share an experience through a lens. And I had an opportunity a little bit over 25 years ago to hold the hand of our sister-in-law as she transitioned. And it was the first time having that experience, and really grateful for my love and I, because we saw it from two different angles, but we we also saw it from the perspective that she understood she was experiencing an end of life issue after the doctor told her that there were no more additional treatments that they could give her that day. And she called me at work on a Friday, and I used to go and just pop in on Fridays, and I'd go have a longer lunch with her. My boss knew, my colleagues knew. I was probably stepping out of the office for 2.5 or 3 hours. My boss would moan before I left, and I ignored it and just stepped out and would take the bus. That day I took a cab. And I remember arriving there, and she waited for the privacy, she waited for the space. She knew when she called that I would come earlier. And I did not return to work that day. So my boss totally freaking out because, ends of the month, you need to process payroll, you need to whatever, do all the billing
Yeah.
things that I'm expecting. And I just knew that was the space I needed to be in. And I think that's the reminder in the gratitude. I was honored that she shared that request with me. I had no idea, as we talk about creating sacred spaces and holding them for others and trying to locate those pockets of peace. And I still am replaying that day 25 plus years later. And we still replay it through different lenses. One day I have to remember to bring the picture out of Liz, because there's a beautiful picture of her in a frame. And it basically says, family is at the center of life's meaning. And it's a poem, it's like something Liz would have written. I have no idea who wrote it, but it brought me such incredible peace in the awkwardness of watching her transition, holding her hand, of all of the firsts that we did that week. I had never written an obituary, had never designed a funeral program. We had never made arrangements for anyone before. Hey Jay, welcome, welcome, young Jedi. Thank you for popping in. And Jay Trevidi is here. We're gonna raise another glass because Jay is a young Jedi warrior who is also a member of Kimberly's Power of the Moment community. And he's telling us happy Marvel Monday. So we're gonna send you that back to you, and thank you for lifting us up. I think the reminder is, for those who haven't had the experience, for those who, and Kimberly's reminding me of a conversation I had with a dear friend over the weekend. She says, I don't go to services. She says it's not my thing. And we gently
Mm.
had a conversation, and I said to her, when you ever need a hand, just like you're here with lots of love and light, I need you to know I'm I'm the girl you should call, because we'll come hang out with you during whatever stage. And she's like, there's some things I won't do. And I appreciate her because, as Jay would say, she's a Marvel superhero to me. She always has on a cape. She's always helping somebody. She's always sharing gratitude. You need something. She called one day. We now have a personal injury attorney because of our conversation. The amount of peace that she brings, pockets of peace. And here she is mentioning it. And we're mentioning this maybe through the grief lens, which for some, it doesn't seem to align with gratitude, but we're grateful for the opportunity to remind others that somewhere in the gratitude, somewhere in the pocket, somewhere of the peace, there's a memory we will treasure. These conversations with families are not for the faint-hearted, and we won't never, we won't always agree. We won't always be on the
Absolutely.
same page. We won't
Absolutely.
travel at the same pace. We won't get there at the same time. It's just a reminder, wherever you are, whatever you can do from a gratitude perspective, to lighten the load of someone you love, you care about, and someone whose life you'll have an opportunity to celebrate in your own way. And Jay is giving Kimberly more. Ooh, Jay, we have to ask you about the Master Shifu. Okay, so Jay is probably giving you another Marvel universe or a Star
Wow,
Wars
Master
reference,
Shifu,
and
I
I'm missing it.
love him. I love him. That is such a compliment, Jay. That is such a compliment. I love that. I really do. I consider myself a avid learner, so I'm always learning, always growing, always, you know, grateful for it, grateful for those reflections. But I love what you were saying. Um, Thank you, Jay. Thank you so much. And I look forward to getting to know you more. And I love how Jay uses superheroes, and his love for the superheroes to connect with life. That's what makes us all unique and wonderful humans, is that we have gifts and talents, and the lens in which we see the world, really, we can learn so much about that. We can learn so much about life through getting to know people and getting to know what their experience of life truly is. Um, it truly is. But I love what you were saying, Mel, in regards to pockets of peace. Yes, we were talking about it from a grief perspective because that's kind of what was coming forward for me. Um, because in terms of pockets of peace, another story came up, and I'll share the vignette later in the chat. Um, but I had written in a gratitude series. And I shared this experience that my family and I often have. And I shared that before, so I won't go into depth with it. But again, as I was reflecting on that story on the grief side of gratitude, because it's grief and gratitude, right? Gratitude that you knew the person, gratitude for everything you got to experience and celebrate. I like the word celebrate because we're celebrating their life, right? And as we are still here and in the becoming journey, it's important to know and ask yourself, I don't know if you've done this exercise, Mel, but there's an exercise where you write your obituary. You write your obituary. What do you want people to say about you? And it really helps connect you to the becoming journey, right? It helps us reflect in a different way. And how can we reflect more intuitively? We can do that by connecting through that stillness, through the practice of self care, right? So we can do that. But there was this experience that we had, and we have several of them. I mean, I can't even begin to share with you so many of them. But the essence of the share is that the story reminded me again that we are more alike than different.
Mm-hmm.
We are more alike. Through my 20 years of experience working with children and families, again, one of the lessons that I took away from that was that all of us, it doesn't matter what our socioeconomic status is, what our race is, what we are all similar because at the end of the day, We want the best for our families, for our children. Bottom, hands down, we want the best. Gratitude, gratitude every single day. So what is your practice? I'd love to find out if anyone's listening live or to the recording, what is your practice? What is your practice? And what does that look like for you? Is it just writing a couple gratitudes down every day? Wonderful. Wonderful. Is it a self-care routine that is your go-to? Fantastic. Do you have a system for it? Have you not yet dipped your toe into it? If you haven't, today is the day. Do it. Sit with yourself for 5 minutes, 5 minutes, and look around. There's abundance all around you, all around you. So,
Mm, I think through the lens of our conversations and through the lens of, I think I saw a cool post earlier from Jan Jeremias, who had the opportunity to meet in Kimberly's servant leadership community and to get to know her in the process of some retreats she was planning and upcoming events, and to pop in into rich discussions with her. But Jan wrote something about the reminder about stillness. A lot of people have been talking about this lately, the need to pause. I had to learn before, and I had to really remind myself, and it's why I'm sharing it with total transparency. The opportunities for us to just burn out and fizzle are tremendous. And people who know us and love us, they don't necessarily see, as my nana did when I was a kid, when our light changes. And and something is changing. And for some, what I had to learn for me was is the practice of gratitude. I
mhm,
expressed gratitude to Kimberly today for popping in at a time when my faith walk has never been so strong. I have a dear historical friend who stopped speaking with me last year. Um, they reached out during an event I was hosting. They had no idea I was hosting an event.
mm,
And I'm doing my back end. We're doing our production stuff. I have wonderful people on a panel. I'm trying to record it on Zoom. It's a LinkedIn audio. Hitting every button, trying to remember every cue, including make sure my phone is on mute. And this wonderful historical friend sent a text about a season of grief she was experiencing without realizing that Mel was in an ongoing, we call them, and
mhm,
I call them complex seasons of gratitude, grief, and growth. Because leading with the gratitude helps bring me back to my core, to my center, just like Kimberly's invitation. And if you pop into reflections, pockets of peace, Kimberly's pro tip, as Carla helped us identify, is do more of what grounds you so that it connects you to who you truly are. And that process of gratitude, whew, it's like stimuli. The My neuroscience buddies or pals and all of our mindset people, we can do things to really light ourselves up and kind of increase the trajectory, change our, not necessarily our response rates, not necessarily change our response times, but as I was sharing in an earlier conversation this morning with some amazing collaborators, we, no matter our interest in emotional intelligence, and that's another series to hang out with Kimberly in because she's got some amazing gems there. And I appreciate Yvette Bethel of Organizational Soul for introducing me to emotional mastery. People think of our emotions as things we need to regulate. And Yvette caught my eye by saying trust was an emotion. And I needed to hear that
Mm,
because my trust pessimism, my trust experiences, which have now led to me becoming a certified in trust, they caused me to kind of question the faith. And as I was saying to Kimberly, I really had to learn underneath there the express ramp to self trust is now built on a really solid, really strong faith walk. And I didn't realize that was the missing piece. I would let almost like the warning lights, the lights and the sirens that can distract us. Some call it shiny object syndrome, the things that'll
yep.
pop in as you're processing something and you're like, wait a minute, I need to pause. And we were having a conversation in the morning. My love's like, you asked me what I ate. I just told you what I had for breakfast. And I'm smiling because I'm sitting here on my coffee and I haven't had breakfast yet. So you're reminding me we all process at different paces, different ways, whether it's information, whether it's through a gratitude lens. And all I could say was, thank you, honey, for repeating that you had told me that before and I missed it the first time. It's the reminder to increase our awareness, not just the opportunities to identify a blessing, to see a silver or a gold lining. I am so grateful to Leslie Flowers. She has no idea that Leslie Flowers popped up when I was about to just pause on Possible Live without any prior notice. And Leslie's like, "Oh, we need to add you to our carousel of lives." And I'm like, in the back end of my mind, I'm like, "Oh, if Leslie does this, I have to show up the following week." And it's the real reminder. We have to be able to slow it down. Ileana, warm hugs because Kimberly and I were talking about that. Our hearts do sometimes wake up heavy. Our minds wake up heavy. Our spirits wake up heavy. Our we're carrying a lot, whether
Mhm.
we are sharing it, and especially, you just had an incredible live event and you're not even conscious of the amount of energy or energy reserves or the amount of sleep. So we want to thank you, Ileana, for all you're doing. And the reminder we need to acknowledge when it is heavy so that someone else can remind us. If we're not able to lean into the gratitude lane, to at least lean into an awareness lane of who we're going to call. That old song, Who You Gonna Call, Ghostbusters. Who's on your top 5, your top 10 list? And
Yes.
I would say at 4:50 this morning, when I'm sitting quietly praying before going back to sleep, I now know in the stillness that is the time for me to pause
Mhm.
because our hearts don't always feel light. Our bags don't always feel empty. And these pockets of peace, it's almost like we need to keep something in our pocket. When I was a kid, I laughed all the time. My Nana and my Gram always had tissues. They were in hospitals, tons of tissues. My Nana would save piles of napkins in the hospital as if they weren't coming with any more paper. And there was always that box of tissues nearby, but she needed paper in her hand, tactile. And I tease all the time, you you need those moments of gratitude, whether it's Kimberly saying it's come up with a daily practice, a weekly practice, uh, some time for self care, some time for stillness in the busyness. I watched a lot of television for me yesterday,
Mhm.
and I made sure I wasn't watching the news. And
Right.
to really remember, as Cheryl's saying, that pause is powerful. We don't always know, as Kimberly's invitation was, during celebrations pocket of peace, the ends part of it. Lean in, listen, and let your soul speak. It is something I learned from beautiful Cheryl Moses. I wasn't allowing enough stillness to hear a soul language.
And
And
that's so important. And each and every one of us have, as we're sharing, Melanie, I think we're not realizing, science teaches us so much. So, I'm going to be talking about this a little bit more in depth on Leslie Flowers when we talk next Monday in terms of the science of gratitude. But it's so, so very important to recognize, again, we each have a unique soundbite, right? The frequency of our voice, right? I mean, these are things to be grateful for, right? Um, and I really, was it Ileana that just came in too? You know, um, Giving you a big hug right now as you're navigating some heavy things, it sounds like, and we're moving into the holidays, and oftentimes we equate the holidays with joyfulness, right? But what we're not recognizing is as we move into the holidays, there's a lot of grief. There is a lot of grief, there's a lot of challenges, and this is one of the reasons why pockets of peace is so important. It's so important because it can create like a soft place for us to fall, right? But we're really not falling. What we're doing is we're grounding ourselves, right? We're grounding ourselves. We're giving ourselves a nice pillow to rest our head for a moment. So thank you, Ileana, for coming and joining us. I know it's not our normal, like peppy, it's very deep. And a lot of times, these deep conversations, sometimes it's very challenging to be present for them. It's very, very challenging, depending on the state we're in. And like I said, we're in the holidays and it is a joyful time, but what we're not seeing behind the faces, all of our faces, right, in some way, shape, or form, is that we have things that are happening. We have priorities, we have challenges, and gratitude can actually be a wonderful support to us all.
I think, as one of the things, as we're in these complex seasons of grief, is to remember the gratitude. Those firsts are challenging. I reached out this weekend to a dear friend who will celebrate her first birthday since her pop passed.
Mhm.
And I remembered that through the lens of just having a milestone birthday and deciding to celebrate this one in a very different way than I did last year, because last year I wasn't having any of the celebration. I have to actually thank Shel Shapiro for reminding me to take a minute and a pause and raise a glass and do it no matter how hard it was to raise the glass to myself, to take the advice that I always share with others is enjoy celebrating another trip around the sun. Birthdays are kind of my thing. I love wishing others happy birthday. I wasn't looking for others to share that with me, but I know, as we're talking about the holidays and the heaviness stuff, somewhere there's somebody who you adore, even if it's 5 minutes, even if it's 10 minutes. And I say this as I was really grateful. Our bonus mom called us at like midnight last night. We were still on the phone with her at 12:40. And we had a chance a couple of months ago to celebrate the lives of members of an extended family. Lots of overlap, lots of conversations, lots of services. And I think We're talking about grief through the lens of being grateful for the love, being grateful for the opportunity, and also being grateful for whatever's in that pocket. So, like my nana and my gran would say, I still laugh every time I find a tissue in a pocket. I laugh every time I find a tissue in a jacket, in a sweater. It reminds me of my gram and my nana. And I think sometimes just those little moments to just pause, whether I thank my nana for being the one who kept saying, keep an eye out for your light. And I
Mm,
thank Kimberly for being there on Purple Thursday, where I spoke a lot about that. We can lose ourselves given the opportunity. It may, spiritual route may not be your route, but there's got to be a friend, a song, uh, a self care, a self care practice. There's got to be a journaling, a dance, an activity. There's something that lifts you up. Share that with someone else you love, who
mhm,
will know when you reach out how to support you and help lift you, even if it's just holding space for you
mhm.
until you find that next pocket of peace. So
You
I'm
know,
gonna let,
Mel,
yeah, thank you
as
for
you're
that.
as you're talking, I'm really thinking about my grandmother, and I'm thinking, she just came in. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, my grandmother loved crocheting and she crocheted us blankets and we would place them at the bottom of the bed, but talking about pockets of peace, that was her piece. But I'll tell you, okay, a little funny because we've been talking a lot serious, but a little bit funny because she says, hey girl, you need to lighten this, this thing up. So she would sit in her recliner, right? And she would get her yarn and she would crochet. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want to learn how to do this. So she's like, okay. Well, she was left-handed. And this is an interesting story too. I want to share this. So she was left-handed, but I really think she was right-handed. But the nuns at school would hit her hands because she wrote with her left hand because they wanted her to do the right. But anyways, she crocheted with her left hand and she would always try to teach me this, right? But I think this is important for our conversation on pockets of peace, right? So she found peace in the activity of crocheting, and she actually poured her love into all of us by creating these blankets for our beds. But again, I think it's also a reminder that that's what makes each and every one of us unique, right? Because we're going to find that pocket in some unique way to us. Like you said, it could be dancing, man, it could be golfing. I had clients that, used to take showers and said that that was their peaceful moment. No one would bother them. They were in this container, the warm water, the bath, it could be gardening, artists, drawing, painting. It could be playing an instrument. When my son, younger one, he plays his viola, he brings tears to my eyes because of the way in which he approaches it, right? So what is the way, especially, I would really hope that everybody really reflects on this as we're moving into the holiday season, right? As we're moving into the holiday season, where is it that you can really find the flow? So that when you're navigating the things that you're navigating during this holiday season, you have your plan and you can lean into that because there will be moments. I will have moments. Mel will have moments. We will all have moments where we need to put our seatbelts on and we need to just take a breath, take a pause, and lean into that practice. Maybe it's something new. I don't know if I told you, Mel, I'm now taking Tai Chi.
Ooh, fabulous. Oh, wow. Look at that smile. I think we need to catch Kimberly's invitation here. Try something new, try something different, reach out to somebody who cares, who lifts you up, send a DM, send a message. Today, I was grateful to listen to the beautiful voice of Cheryl Moses today,
Mm,
who popped in and who I'm looking forward to hearing her voice later. At the same time, really remembering consciously. We have all these super moons floating around. We've got all these eclipses. We have all these energies. We have all these
mm,
things that people are carrying. Tony Braxton saying years ago, let it flow in waiting to exhale. And that was my
mm,
reminder. I was holding my breath. So when you
mm,
can release your breath, release some of what you're carrying so that your bags are a little lighter, so your load's a little less heavier. And join us again for our upcoming Pockets of Peace series as it continues. Kimberly, where can people find you?
mhm. Well, my website is down here, and I'd love there's a space on there where you can schedule a conversation. If I haven't met you, if I haven't had a conversation with you, I think it's important. Let's do that. Let's have a conversation. If it's to talk about pockets of peace, whether it's to learn about one another and kind of see how we may collaborate. Because I will tell you this, as I continue to grow and evolve and kind of really learn more about myself and about the becoming journey, what I do know is that we do need one another. We need one another. And it's important for us to be able to come together and share our gifts and talents so we know who is in alignment with our mission. So, for instance, Melanie and I are passionate about leadership. We're passionate about creating space for leaders, but not just any kind of leaders. So I'm going to use this example. We come together, and then two more people come together, and then two more people come together, and so on and so forth. And before we know it, we have a goal that we're going to create 1,000, 2,000 leaders in 2026. Again, it's possible when we do it ourselves, but it's more likely to happen when we do it together. And
Mm.
we can't do that without creating spaces for peace. And when it's just a pocket, that pocket ends up expanding into our entire day.
Woof. I truly want to thank you for more beautiful gems. And for anyone who hasn't had a chance to check the earlier parts of our Pockets of Peace series out, reach out for links to Reflections Pockets of Peace, Celebrations Pockets of Peace, Trust Pockets of Peace. And today, with lots of gratitude for the love, the energy, the light, the lift that you and all of our guests are bringing live and on replays, and for all you're doing to try and lighten and brighten our fragile world. We appreciate you. Stay safe, stay well, stay inspired, stay in touch, and please, Kimberly said it. There's a link in both of our profiles for us. Just hop on a call, and even a short call. And if not a call, if that's not right, send a message so we can hold a good thought and create a good space for us to connect when schedules permit. But please keep an eye out for those who need some help locating levels, degrees of gratitude, who need help building and establishing a practice. Invite them in to sacred spaces you're in, to sacred spaces that you treasure. Share the pleasure, pass the love, share it on. But stay safe, stay well, stay inspired, and stay in touch. And please have a peaceful day, week. filled with blessings, opportunities, and possibilities until we reconnect again. Thank you again, beautiful Kimberly and guests. And uh, take great care. Small, gentle steps. Let's take them together. And bring a friend along, hold a hand, and share some gratitude. And when you're having trouble taking a step, as Kimberly reminds me earlier, remember there are others around to help carry and lighten that load. So thank you again, beautiful Kimberly and others, for joining us today for Gratitude Pockets of Peace.